Everybody, welcome back to the Insiders Lounge. Gabriel, thanks for joining us, and feel free to give us a quick introduction.
Thank you for having me, Chad. My name is Gabriel Glavan, and my recent role was a sport director. I worked as a sport director for Dinamo Bucharest, a big club in Eastern Europe. Not the best period for the club. Managed to go to the club when the club relegated for the first time in the second division, managed to promote and took care of the whole sporting department with 5 departments: scouting, analysis, performance, data, and also the academy, reforming the academy, hiring the military from academy methodologists, methodists to say, sorry. And also before that, I used to work for the national team under 21 as a performance analyst and head of recruitment for other clubs here in Romania. And I also teach into the Romanian Football Federation coaching school. I have the modules of scouting and video analysis, to the UEFA A, B, and Pro licenses.
Yeah, we'll get into there's a lot to unpack. We have many different experiences throughout your journey. But first, let's get into the first footballing memories you had growing up. What were the initial memories that you had as a kid?
Well, of course, with my father, because my father took me to the stadium, and my father was a Dinamo Bucharest supporter, so I really lived the dream being the sporting director at Dinamo Bucharest, and we're gonna talk about this probably. I managed to do that because I didn't play professional football. So we went to the first game that I remember was biggest influence was Rapid Bucharest Dinamo Bucharest game away. So in Rapid home, and Dinamo won 4-1 against Rapid. So I was very happy, but because the stadium was full of Rapid fans, I couldn't be happy on the stadium because there were only supporters of Rapid, and my father told me, do not, say nothing, because it was back in 1998 or something like that. So people weren't that friendly to kids or other kind of supporters, especially in the derby. So this is one of my first memories, but I have memories, going to the national team games as well, and watching games at home with my father. So.
And then growing up, what was the youth system like in terms of football? How were you able to play? What's the sort of differences between maybe Western Europe or North America, something that the viewers would be more used to?
Well, I don't believe there are that many differences. When I was a kid, I tried to play football. I went to play to Dinamo Youth Academy as well, and also other academies. The idea wasn't, at that time, things weren't so organized in other, let's say, coaching school, football schools. You just went there let's say, with a friend that, took you to presented you to the coach and said, this guy wants to come to play football with us, and you just give a trial for 1 week, and they say, okay, you're good enough. You from next week, you are joining us, So this is how things were back in the days. And of course, we had a coach. It wasn't, again, not so organized for checklists for every youth age and so on. We didn't have a lot of technology to stay at home on computers. We just went on the street to play football. After went to play organized football into a, let's say, football academy. And I don't believe that there were so many differences.
And then we were speaking about your education before the call. It seems you have a strong interest in just this consistent learning process. Can you mention some of I want to get into like the actual university background in terms of some of the degrees you have. I know you have a bachelor's degree in international economic relationships, but you also have a lot of education on the footballing side. So can we speak about both sides and just some of the experiences you've had on that end?
Yeah, well, it is a funny story with how I learned about education when I was a kid. But okay, so I learned that, let's say, when my father is and was a businessman, and I was in a meeting, and I saw a doctor that was, let's say, a vet, let's say, and he was talking to other people when I was like 8, 9 years old, that we should have education, and that even though because it was like 8 years after communism, fall in Romania, and people weren't so educated in this manner. When one vet doctor told me that, listen, you need in life to do this education because it's the only way that's gonna help you succeed in life. So I really understood that. Also, my father told me that. Um, and after that, I first of all starting learning foreign languages because I speak English since I was like 4 years old.
Oh,
So, yeah, and because I watched a lot of cartoons,
wow.
and my sister I have a bigger sister, and my sister had a teacher that used to come home to teach her English, and I was listening at the door as a small child, because I thought that my sister was speaking secrets with, I don't know, and I just listen at the door, and I learned English in this way without understanding. And after that, I went to, let's say, how do you say, primary school that was in English, and after the high school was in French. So I also learned French. I also learned Spanish watching movies with my mother. That was, in that time there were movies in Spanish from South America on the TV soaps. So I learned that, and after that, in the university, I understood that international relationship is the future that covers others. And after that, in football, when I entered, because I didn't have a football background, let's say professional football player, I understood that I need to educate myself in order to cover the gap. And first of all, I went to Manchester in 2015. Studied. It was a course of Professional Football Scouts Association, and after that, I did a master in scouting and analysis on the university in Spain. And after that, I did a sporting director certificate, and now I'm studying an MBA in football. So this is how I educated myself, let's say.
So when we first met, you mentioned the story of how you first got into scouting and that sort of background and the interest around it. So can you please reshare the story of how you first initially got interested in scouting and sort of how that story revolved?
With the United States football player. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was playing Football Manager with my best friend. I was 15, 16, and I started playing a few years back. But at that time, I said, "Listen, I think I want to do this in life." I spoke with my friend. He told me that, of course, you have no chance. You're a kid, you're something, and scouting is not involved in Romania, and still it's not. And so this was 20 years ago. And in Football Manager at that time was Oguchi Oniewu, that probably the people from the United States know very well, that played in Standard Liège, and he was quite good in Football Manager. And at my friend's home, I made an email account, email address, and I wrote his agent that, I work for an agency, and I really want to know what an agency in Germany, because I just wanted to know the market. So emailed the guy and told him that I'm interested in what kind of transfer fee Standard Liège would ask for him, what kind of salary expectations, and of course he didn't answer. But my friend started making fun of me and telling me that every time, this was a nickname when I was a kid, like for 1 or 2 years, my friends call me Oguchi, and because of this, because they told me, Oguchi, you're not gonna make it, he's not gonna answer, you never answered. And this is how my dream started, so, and after that, I managed to enter football. Of course, we're gonna share that, but fast forward, after 20 years, I made this sporting director certificate online on Focus Management, and they invited me because they saw me that I was writing on X, former Twitter, right? And the first person I met was Oguchi Oniewu. That was in the same group with me. After 20 years, I finally met the guy, and I shared with him the story that I already shared with you now. So I called my friend and told him, listen, you're not going to believe what I talked today. I said, who? Oguchi Oniewu. I said, how? It's my colleague in my course, because now he finished football. And yeah, so this is how I got with Football Manager, and my dream started with Oguchi Oniewu. And after my final step to say to be a sport director in Dinamo, because this is what my first dream was with him, and also managed to start my career with him and finish my last step with him. So yeah, funny story.
And what was the first initial interest into scouting itself? Because I know you sort of see from the outside point of view, you always see the public image of managers or head coaches, and then you see the players as well. That's sort of the two groups of people you see, but you don't really see the people behind the scenes scouting. And I know we spoke about it previously, and we'll get into it later on, but the Romanian football side in terms of scouting was sort of non-existent for a little bit of a longer period than some of the
Yeah.
other regions around the world. So what was that first initial interest? How did it come around to, oh yeah, I'm really interested in scouting specifically?
I was playing Football Manager, and I knew all the players. And I was watching football with my father at home, Champions League football or other championships. And my father told me, listen, you know all the players. Why don't you want to work in this industry? And I said, I'm just a kid. I was like 16, 17. And they said, okay, maybe we can help. We can talk to some people or something. And I started, knocking on some doors. Of course, nobody was interested in working with a kid. Nobody believed that this is a thing. Of course, couldn't enter a club or something, but managed to work my way to an agency, the biggest agency in Romania when I was like 20 years old. So this was 15 years back. And I worked with them and recommended the first player that they recommended was for Dinamo Bucharest. His name was Jacare Jacone. At that time, he was playing in Israel, and he came to Dinamo and was one of the best players. Actually, when he left to sign for Evian in First League of France, that Evian at that time managed to promote to first transfer league, he was declared the best player of the final of the cup in Romania. So he was a defensive midfielder. And I said, okay, so I have let's say a talent in this, and I started studying, So this is how I entered, let's say.
And then you mentioned previously that you didn't have that professional footballing experience as your background. And obviously getting into an industry like this, it's extremely difficult to do that without that background. So can you talk about some of the initial steps that you took? You mentioned the educational side about how you sort of compensated with that and really educating yourself on the footballing side of things. But can you mention some of your first experiences trying to find a club to work with, trying to get involved in the industry without having that background?
Well, I was quite lucky because I entered football after a night at the club. And it's a funny story how things connect, because I was in a nightclub, let's say 10 years ago, and we met some friends, some girls that we became very good friends. And then one of the girls managed to make a boyfriend that was a former player, and she made at home, let's say, a dinner party to say, I want you to meet my boyfriend. You come at my home. And I went over there, and her boyfriend was a former, we didn't know who he was, because she didn't tell us, was a former Romanian player. And 2 days before the dinner party, he was named as a sport director in the First League club in Romania. I saw him, I said, listen, I want to be a scout. I was explaining to him my background, my situation, and he really liked me. And after the weekend, we talked and said, yeah, you're gonna work together in this club. Fast forward, I became sport director in Dinamo, and I hired him as a coach. And we managed to promote the club into the first division, and everybody, thought it was a miracle at the time, because the club was almost in bankruptcy, insolvency, transfer ban. We only had 10 days to make the transfers, so nobody thought that Dinamo had any chance. So, and it was also Dinamo Bucharest former player, because we remained very good friends from that time. I managed to go to a different club. He wanted to be not only sport director, he became president, and then he said, I want to take coaching, and starting coaching at the youth, left in the first league, and now we came to the second league, and now we promoted to the first league. Yeah, so funny story.
we'll get into I wanted to work through some of the clubs that you've had experiences at. You obviously gave me a mini biography to work through of yours, which was a great read. So for starters, the first player transfer that you ever had, I believe it was Hemden. We were discussing it a little bit, and I find that the sort of journey quite fascinating because you're just getting involved in the Romanian footballing world as a whole. So can we speak on the first transfer and what that was like working with that experience, sort of the scouting process and all the background on that?
Well, of course, people didn't trust my knowledge at first, So when I went to the first club with Ovidiu, Ovidiu Burca is the name of the guy that was sport director in Otelul Galati. Also, the club at that time was close to bankruptcy and managed to go to bankruptcy after that season. But the club was in crisis and they needed people to come and, let's say, save what it can be saved, but without money you cannot do it. But the first transfer was a player from Algeria that his name is Hamboun, and in Oțelul at that time we had a Romanian player that used to play for Dinamo Kiev like 8 years. His name is Florin Cernat. And I managed to scout the player. I had it already in my database. He was like a free player because the transfer window in Algeria closed and he couldn't sign anymore for his club. And I recommended, I said, listen, this is a winger that is very interesting. And people said, yeah, he's okay. But Florin Cernat, actually the player that we had in our team, played with him. And he told us, you want to take this player? And I said, yeah, he will not gonna come here. No, we talked to him, he's gonna come. If he wants to come, you need to take him because he's a very good player. So I was lucky because the guy already knew him, and he told us, I guarantee that he will be a very good player. And we took him, was our best player, and after we managed to sell him to Steaua Bucharest, and then Steaua Bucharest managed to sell him to Al Sadd for 2 million. And his career changed in 1 year and a half. So this was my first transfer in the club.
Yeah, you're sort of moving on to your next role. You're with the Voluntari as well, and you're in this scouting position, but you're sort of in a different role because you're doing a lot of recruitment, you're doing a lot of negotiation, which is quite abnormal for a scouting role in other clubs in regions around the world. So what was the idea behind that? Was that because there was sort of a lack of experience and development in that side of things within the clubs in Romania?
Yeah. So I feel like the more sporting director role because we don't have sporting directors in Romanian clubs. So I could enter and talk directly with the player's agent and took the role and told the agent what we have to offer, what are our plans with the player, and so on, and really helped me in my career because I really wanted to be a sport director in Romania. So it helped me a lot because this aspect wasn't so evolved or developed at that time in the Romanian football. And it still is not, as a sport director, when I explain people that this is the role, they say, yeah, but it's sort of in a gray area. And around the world, there are other, let's say, environments that people don't know exactly how to define the sporting director role. But from my background in studies, I understood that this is how you should behave. And then when I took the players, I was very close to the players. I managed to help them adapt because the adaptation process is very, important as well. Understanding that you work with people, no matter if they are players or sporting directors, president or agents, and everybody wants to be seen, accepted, loved, and respected. So you need to offer that. So yeah, this helped me a lot in building my career.
And then if we can get some background, obviously when you were with Voluntari, that you ended up winning the Romanian Cup, and I think that as a statement, people might not understand what that actually took and what it entailed. So can we get into the background of what the club's position was like at that time, how you were able to do it, some of the recruitment stories around that?
So after Otelul Galati, the newly promoted club, Voluntari, promoted, so they promoted in the first league. And this is actually my town that I live in, that is like very close to Bucharest. It's like Bucharest, but outside of Bucharest. So the zone outside of Bucharest is called Voluntari, the north part. And it's a different city. So they promoted the first league, and I went there and I said, no, I didn't went there. The media officer that we had in Otelul Galati moved here, and he called me if I can help them. I said, okay, I'm going to move here because it's very close to my home. Galati was a different city. And this is how I started entering the club. In the first 6 months, I was in a voluntary position because they didn't understood the scouting idea. And after I got the job and stayed there like 5 years in total in Voluntari. But after 2 years, I managed to win the Romanian Cup and also the Super Cup with the lowest budget into the league, to say like this. Nobody expected to have this. Actually, nobody expected in Voluntari that we can win the cup, so they didn't put the documents to take the license for Europe because nobody believed that we can do that, and we managed to win the cup and could not go to Europe. So it was quite frustrating because people wouldn't believe that it's possible, and we made the team. At that time, with the coach that I really also he was a former Dinamo Bucharest player that I had a really, really good relationship, and he trusted me. Managed to do a blend of Romanian players with experience and young players from let's say Romania as well from outside of Romania, and it was something that nobody believed that can happen, but it still is one of my best memories. When you are a kid and you don't have a football background and you play football manager or FIFA, and you are happy when you're a kid that you are winning the cup or something, a trophy into the game, but managed to do that at 25, no, 20, 28 I was at that time. It was quite impressive for me, because I had this experience, with medals and everything. So I'm very happy for that.
And you mentioned your age there, 28. How are your interactions with players at that time? Obviously, I'm sure there was players older than you, so you sort of had to set that experience of there's still the hierarchy in terms of the management of a team. So how are you able to interact with players at that time? And I think even now you're still quite young for the overall football industry, and so people might look at you, oh, he's still young, he's not experienced enough. How do you deal with those conflicts?
Well, first of all, the involuntary, and there weren't so many people that spoke English, so I was one of the few guys that spoke directly with the players. For example, the foreign players, I was close to them because I was really interested in culture-wise how they do things over there. So I became quite close to them and managed to adapt. So even though I was 28, they were like, because I signed young players, 23, 24, maximum my age. We weren't friends because I wanted to have this professional relationship, but we shared information that was quite good for both parties. I showed him how things are done here. He explained to me from his former experiences, because with every person in football, former football player that I work with, I have some specific question that I ask them. What was the hardest defender that you ever faced, if he's a striker? What was the hardest, the toughest, let's say, striker, if he's the defender? What was your best coach that you work with? Why do you think he was very good? The best person that you know in football. And I understand a lot from their experience, and I also read and educated myself a lot in order to understand how you should speak with people that we are not different one from another. So so people didn't saw me, of course, in terms of authority, because I was just a scout or head of scouting. It wasn't that big because we have president, sport directors, and so on. But managed to have a very good understanding with them, with the players. Help them also because I was also in analysis at that time, performance analysis, and I helped them with individual reports and helping them become better players. So I was quite the only one that did this for them.
Yeah, I think that's key. I think the connection and actually being able to work with players, but then on the analysis side, any player that wants to become better and is looking to strive for more, there's no one better than an analyst in that side of things. The story that, as I was reading, I think the sort of first big step, or the first stepping stone, milestone, however you want to call it, with UTA Arad, that seemed to be where you sort of took that next level, and you brought it sort of a different level to the game of Romanian football, of the club football there. And you were able to start with your first ever scouting department. I believe it was the first ever scouting department in the country. And so can you get into that, sort of explain the background on that and what you were able to accomplish there?
Yeah. So when I went to the Romanian Football Federation, they asked me to present a module in the UEFA licenses to present the scouting and performance, let's say, module. And because I saw this, I understood that there are many other people like myself back in the time that want to enter the football market and they don't have any opportunities. So I also did the only scouting course in Romania that was very similar in terms of knowledge that they presented, to the pro license. And when I went to UTA as a performance analyst and head of scouting, I told them, listen, if you want me to continue and to develop things here, you have to let me build my own scouting department. And they asked me, okay, how much it's going to cost? I said, nothing. You're going to do it with volunteers, and I'm going to offer them education and opportunities. So I made the scouting department out of 40 people, managed to recruit all of them, made an announcement in the newspapers and social media that we are looking for scouts. About 500 people mailed me, selected 40 of them. And then we entered in this era that we should have a scouting department, organized one, and every scout had a different championship. So we were following 40 championships. We're making weekly reports from every championship. We were following the championship with Wild Scout accounts. So a program based on the, let's say, level of involvement and availability in terms of, because there were people that are having paid jobs and they had like 2 hours per day to enter into all the games. And I give them the autonomy to do their own schedule. And every Tuesday, I should have the team of the week from every championship. After you have the team of the week from every championship, I made a database of 400 players, so 10 best players from every championship that appeared the most in team of the week. And after that, there were all the scouts that were looking only on those players and make detailed reports. First of all, grade reports based on grade with weighted average. And after that, we were doing, let's say, after we saw from the 400 players, top 5 players for every position, and we're doing detailed reports so we can present to the coach and to the management of the club. Of course, working in the Romanian team, you know all the players, but the idea is that you don't have the budget to take the players that you want. So most of the players were free of contract, and you can put KPIs, but you must accept that you cannot take the best players that you can see on the market. And it's also very difficult because when you take those players, you understand that they have flaws. What people do not understand that in many environments, you take what you can, not what you want. Only Real Madrid, Manchester City, United, and other clubs can take what they want. In most environments, you can take what you can take based on the budget that you have, and the players that you take have flaws. They're not perfect. You need to make yourself a game model that will be very easy adaptable to the quality of the players that you already have. So it's very easy when you look at the players that come to your team that they cannot adapt very quickly because they don't have a certain value. And as well that they have, let's say, they were looking at the striker and said, this striker doesn't have, let's say, very good speed, or this striker doesn't have very good off-the-ball movements. Of course he doesn't have. If he had that, he would play in a big team in Europe. So you need to take that and develop the players. But in order to do that, you also need to develop the club. And I saw that. I said, listen, I need to be sport director because I need to develop all the departments into a club. And I need to manage my own budget to do that. Because even though if I take good players, the coach can say, I'm not going to put this player on to play on his qualities. Even if he has qualities, I want them to play with the back to the goal or something as a striker. And then they don't have the qualities to do that. You should make the game model based on the qualities, that the player has. Make them pass the ball behind the defensive back and so on. So it's quite difficult to make this blend of having understanding with the coaches, with the sporting director, with the management of the club. Even though you are just a scout or head of scouting, people have different interests, even if they thought they have a game model. It's not always the case. So it's quite frustrating if you don't have all the resources, in making the plan, the game model, and so on. And that's all I moved as a sporting director to do that.
Hey there. If you're listening to this, you're about halfway through this week's episode. So I want to say thank you. I'm just here to quickly remind you that these episodes are free. They're free to watch, free to listen to, and all I ask in return is for you to follow, maybe like, share, comment, or even leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcasting platform. That's enough from me though. I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode, and I'll see you in the next one. And then you also brought in live analysis during the games. Can we talk about the advantages to that? I'm sure across the league in that time, many teams didn't have that. So what were some of the advantages that you were able to show throughout the league and the season?
So they still don't have. The idea is, so only Dinamo right now is the only club that has live analysis from the bench. So as you can see in all championships around Europe, they are also probably in the MLS as well. They have tablets when they are looking live on the game, on the feed, and they make analysis directly from the bench or from the analyst that is up into the stands. In Romania, nobody did this. They only do before game analysis and after the game. They wouldn't film the trainings and so on. I said, this is very important in order to develop the players that we have. So I went to the management club and I said, listen, we need this kind of money in order to buy, let's say, a laptop, a camera, and some cubes that we can make a Wi-Fi connection that is not expensive at all for a football club. And managed to convince them and did that. But because I was the only one in UTA when I started, I made first half analysis into the stands, then went to the laptop into the changing room, and then showed to the coach the offensive, defensive transition and set pieces. And when we had problems, we're good at. And we showed to the players as well some, let's say, 2 or 3 instances from the game, from the first half. And on the second half, I will go on the bench, stay on the bench with the laptop and with the tablet, a laptop on the stands and tablet down, and also speak as a second coach to the players that were entering and help them listen. This is what happened the first half. Of course, the coach told me you should say this to them and so on. And so this is how we do it. And Dinamo managed to take analysts, of course, volunteer because they didn't have the budget as well. So in Dinamo, I'm guessing when we move that in that direction, we have like 60 scouts and 10 analysts. So let's say that are also from the scouting department that are helping the position analysis and so on. But we have dedicated analysts that's in the training and do live tagging and live analysis.
Yeah, so you mentioned...
Tell me, please.
No, that's all right. You mentioned the Dinamo Bucharest was your boyhood club. You've hinted at it a few times. You really wanted to take that next step and become a director, more responsibility, and truly build something. So let's get into that. Let's discuss the scouting department that you were able to build there, some of the advancements, the time that you were actually able to join. Obviously, they had just been relegated, and then some of your experiences there.
Yeah, so Dinamo relegated because 3 years ago, some Spanish investors came and said, listen, we're going to invest a lot of money. And they took players and they signed contracts for like 25,000 euros per month, which is big salaries for Romania. And they didn't pay any salaries. They left the club. And in 3 months, all the players left and went to FIFA, to sue the club. And after, the club went in debt like 8 million. And because of this, the club went almost into bankruptcy and relegated. Of course, bad performances, but you couldn't take a lot of players because insolvency started, and relegated in the second division. When Dinamo relegated in the second division, I was still in UTA at that time, and a very good friend of mine from high school became president of Dinamo, and also Dinamo supporter. And he asked me, "Listen, tell me a coach that we should put in Dinamo in the second division, because nobody wanted to come in Dinamo only the supporters were keeping the club alive, that are the best supporters in the country. And all the other coaches or people that were in all the clubs said, no, Dinamo is finished. We're going to go bankrupt or relegate in the third division. Nobody wanted to come. So I said, and he told me, I need your help. And he took me as a sport director. I said to him, listen, we need to take this coach, Ovidiu, that is my friend. He already knew him, and said, okay, if you say so, I'm going to trust you. So we're going to put the coach. And we had only 10 days to make all the transfers, Romanians and foreigners as well, in order to, before the transfer ban came because of the debt. No investors, no nothing. I work for free for the club because I said for Dinamo, I work for free. The president worked for free. When we took players, I was in France to see a game of the free players in France, because they have the free players in France. They have, let's say, a syndicate that they go in there free and they train like they're in a team already, club, so to be prepared. And I watched some games and I said, we're gonna take those players into Dinamo. Lamin Ghezali and Quentin Bena were the name. Other players from Spain that you already know from third division, and we managed to sign the players from Romania that we knew. And the championship started very bad with three defeats in four games. So everybody said, no, you are not good enough. No, it's nothing good, and so on. But we managed to reach the playoffs in the second league, and after that, we played a game for promotion and relegation with the first league club, which till this day is the most special moment in my career, because we managed to win the first leg 6-1 against a first league club. It was 40,000 people in the National Arena Stadium in Romania, all the Dinamo Bucharest supporters. It was something surreal, something that if there were 1,000 parallel universes, this is the only one that we can win in this manner, 6-1. So, and after we lost the second leg 4-2, but it didn't count. But at one time was 4-1 for the opponent. And I was thinking, if I were gonna lose this game, we're not gonna promote, I'm just gonna quit. I cannot come back from this, because it will be a shock for everybody not to win the second leg before you win the first leg with 6-1. But because of the pressure, they scored in the second leg, it was the 14th minute. And I said, if we don't concede in the first 15 minutes of the game, we are safe. So in the 14th minute, it was 0-0. And I said, we're safe. In the 16th minute was 2-0 for the opponent. They scored 2 goals in 2 minutes. And I said, no, it's, when we starting, I was saying, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. In the second half, in the halftime was 2-1. And you went, okay, we're safe. They're not going to score 4 goals. And when we started the second half, in 5 minutes, they scored 2 goals again. And I said, yeah, because of the pressure, but they went into 10 men, but we hadn't managed to score. But it was something, an emotional roller coaster. And when we came back from Pitești, that is a town near Bucharest, like 100 kilometers away, normally we do that in 45 minutes on the highway. We took 4 hours to come to Bucharest because there were 100 cars that of Dinamo supporters that they were with us, and only stopping the bus on the highway, on gas station, everywhere. So we needed to go down. The supporters came with us into the bus. One time when we left the gas station, there was a Dinamo supporter into the bus, and I asked him, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Please let me stay with you. I don't have my phone with me. Nobody will believe me that I'm here. Please don't leave, let me leave the bus." And I said, "Okay, you're coming with us to Bucharest, to our stadium," and we celebrated until 3-4 a.m. in the morning over there. So it was amazing promoting that nobody believed that we can promote. So. And after, of course, in the first division, managed to do the scouting department, the analysis department, the performance department, took over the academy, as I told. So, yeah.
No, it's like I was going to say, it's like a movie. It really is. It was incredible. But yeah, so let's get into some of those departments. So now you were able to, you had experience building a scouting department, but now you advanced that and you moved into other departments and really building the entirety of the club. Can you speak on, so post promotion, the actual workings of building those departments and some of the insights behind that.
Yeah, so when we promoted, we still had a transfer ban. So, and this guy that I took from France that I saw at that game, Lamine Ghezali, became our hero because he managed to score some incredible goals into the playoffs. And once again, the scouting is pretty good and everything. So after the transfer ban was still active because we didn't have any owners. New owners came at that time and said we're gonna invest. They didn't invest so much at the beginning, and they promised us. They say, "Listen, we're gonna lift the transfer ban." But when I already had a scouting department from UTA that I was using. That was actually my scouting department, not the scouting department of UTA. Because they were volunteers. I left like 4 people that were from Arad, from that area. Listen, you need to work in the club. One of them is hired over there as a scout. The others came with me in Dinamo and managed to select others as well. And when I was speaking to players, they all asked, so this transfer ban will be still active? If I come there and sign, maybe I'll not be able to play. Said, no, you're going to be able to play because the investors promised us that they're going to lift the ban, but we weren't that sure 100%. So when we made the squad from the first division, with the coach, we discussed, listen, we need to extend the contracts of the players from the second division because we don't know if we'll have a transfer ban lifted. If we don't extend the contracts, we won't have players to play into the first league. So it was quite difficult. And after, first 1 week before the season started, they lifted the transfer ban, but we still didn't have players. Just 2 players that we signed, but managed to enroll into the squad once the transfer ban was lifted. And nobody wanted to come to because they were saying, first of all, it's Romania. Second of all, there were financial problems in the past, and people thought that there was still gonna be financial problems. Then nobody believed that we're gonna leave the transfer ban. So there were a lot of speculations, and of course, being in a big club in Dinamo, the press is always on you. And they were writing articles that they were reading that they were saying the transfer ban is not going to be lifted. They don't have any money, and the players read with the agents. So we made Zoom calls to them to convince them. Other players managed to come here and said, "Listen, you come here, don't sign, but see how Bucharest it is, because Bucharest, honestly, it's a very safe and the country is very safe and a very nice place to live." And so we managed to convince of the players, but we didn't have the start that we wished, because into the, let's say, schedule, the first 3 games were the toughest opponents into the Romanian league, and we lost all the games. We missed penalty and so on. We played good, but lost the games. So again, the press and people starting losing faith that Dinamo is going to be, let's say, not great again, because people who are used to Dinamo being top level team. But I told them, listen, we need to have patience. We are in a reconstruction process and so on. So it was quite difficult with this. Taking other departments, again, when I came, the academy was almost finished, like 70 kids were in the academy. You cannot call this an academy. And managed to hire a new director of academy, a new methodist, and so like a technical director. Managed to have 250 so players in the academy, bring players, coaches as well. Also a physical strength and conditioning coach, also analysts, scouting departments now, as I told you, 60 people. Medical, new doctor into the club, new second coach. So everything, it was my responsibility. And everybody, if you need to be very, let's say, very careful in what we are saying or doing, because the press and the supporters are always watching in such a big club, because it's a big pressure to be in this kind of club.
You mentioned your time with the federation as an analyst, and I think it was quite interesting the way that you sort of went back and forth between working with the federation, working with clubs, and I think that balance helped, almost in like a dual role. Can you speak on the sort of dual role and being able to work with the national teams, work with the federation, but also working with the clubs?
Well, in the federation, I went to the federation and said, listen, don't you want people to understand what scouting and analysis is? And I said, yeah, but if you want, I'm going to do this more than I'm going to help teaching them. And they saw that I'm a good asset for them, and also recommended the need to be a performance analyst for under 21 squad that we were preparing for the European Championship that we were held in our country, together with Georgia. So last year. Okay, so managed to do that. At that time, I was working for UTA and also working for the national team. So when the international break came, I was moving to the national team and travel because we played only friendlies. So you cannot play friendlies in Europe because most of the clubs already have, qualification games. So we went to Morocco. We played in Georgia because they were also organizers. So we played friendly against us. We also played in different environments. So it was quite good because I saw the most talented players into the country and managed to have a direct relationship with them. Also understood what they need. So I really like this. It was a lot of work, but I really like this because I evolved as well and also help others understand the importance of doing this.
And then we were speaking on the sort of the fascination you have with education, with learning, and I think you've now, with many years of experience, you've now sort of flipped that, and now you are educating, and you're a lecturer with the federation. But you also, one of the first ways we sort of got chatting was through your presentations on LinkedIn, your different reports that you've written, research papers, so on. So there's this constant beat now of wanting to teach others and help others learn and grow. Where did that fascination kind of come from, and where did those interests come from to show others, look, this is the game of scouting, this is how you get involved, this is all my work, you're very open with it. Where did that all come from?
Well, first of all, I put myself in the position of others and I said, listen, first of all, if people want to enter the scouting or to work in the environment, in the football environment, they don't have any opportunities. So I want to offer the opportunities to people. This is why I did the scouting courses. This is why I did the scouting departments, to offer them opportunity to collaborate and develop. Because in the scouting department, every 2 weeks we have meetings that I offer mentorship and education, and also invite other people into the calls, because we have calls with 50 people that we discuss what is happening, what we should learn more. And we also invite people from outside, as I told you, that work in different environments. So because I understood the need of education that I had, I understood that other people have the same need of education. Second, I understand that we as humans managed to be top of the food chain, say like this, because we had one quality. We collaborated better within us, with one with another, than other animals. So collaboration is key. Sharing knowledge for me is not a problem, because I openly share, let's say, if you look, as you see in my LinkedIn account, 60 slides, 40 slides of information for basic topics. And people can take my information and other people can ask me, listen, Gabi, you are just sharing your knowledge with other people. I say, yeah, well, they will steal your work. I don't care. It's theoretical knowledge. In order to be good at something, you need to practice. So it's big difference between practice and theoretical knowledge. You can learn how much as you can, but if you do not know when to apply the knowledge and how to apply it, it's not valuable enough. And also in other clubs in Romania, one coach told me at one time, Gabi, you are offering education to 40, 50 people. All the knowledge that you have, you are offering them. And I say, yeah. And he told me, yeah, but one day they can take your place. I don't care. If I'm not good enough, they will take my place. If I'm good enough, I want to, let's say, become better. And my idea is to work outside of the country. I don't want to stay in Romania. If I can help people inside Romania, outside Romania, doesn't matter. I want to be outside of the country, take a scouting role, and then maybe probably work my way further. But I understand that I can prove myself. I need to prove myself in a different environment, because people say, yeah, he's from Romania, doesn't have the knowledge. Romania doesn't represent a lot in the world of football. So this is my idea. This is why I did it,
We've spoken through your childhood, your career growing up, all the different challenges that you faced, and and the sort of different mindsets that you're able to really understand and grow through the many different experiences that you face so far. What would you say is your most valuable asset, whether it's a skill, a mindset, an attribute that you have for yourself? What would you say is the most valuable that's been able to bring you to the top of your game and have the most success?
First of all, I think I learn very quickly things. Then I understand that successful people have three qualities. First of all, discipline. If you don't have discipline, you cannot manage to become successful in any field. Then you need to be adaptable, which I am very, very adaptable. And third, you need to learn from your mistakes. So I understand every time if I lose a game or things that maybe some things go wrong, I analyze and I say, this is something good out of this. This is something that I need to learn from this. If I will not learn this, will happen again. So I understand that every difficult aspect or challenge that I will have in my life, especially in my career, will help me become better. It's for my own good. So if you want the main quality is I want to see the best in people and situations. That's the main quality. And I believe that people are not, let's say, bad at persons or something. They just have different problems and different levels of understanding. And maybe other people don't want to help you, but it's okay. You will find a way if you manage to, let's say, if the door closes, you enter up a window. If the window closes, you break the walls, and so on. So I'm very perseverant in this. But I want, and I truly believe that there is good in many people.
What would you say is your biggest challenge? It can be in your personal life or in your career that you're now able to look back on and you're able to grow through and learn and maybe grow a new mindset or a new vision for the rest of your life.
Well, I have a master's degree in scouting. I have this MBA, but I have a PhD in inconsistency. So as a joke, because my biggest challenge was I worked in inconsistent environments. From week out, week in, you never know what will happen. So it's like in Forrest Gump. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. This is the football, especially in Romania. Romanian football is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. So inconsistency helped me understood and adapt to this. So if I manage to work and have success in inconsistency in a consistent environment, it will be easier, let's say like this.
And if we have someone listening today and they maybe want to follow a similar journey, maybe I know a lot of us, I played Football Manager and we wanted to, but it can be any experience where they just want to get into scouting or get into analysis, get into this sort of world of football, this own sort of section that it is of the beautiful game. Do you have advice for someone in that position, sort of the steps they can take to further their career or get involved in the game?
First of all, look for educational opportunities. So it's very easy now to make Barca Hub courses, PFC, IPSO, or other courses online that are available. Then offer to volunteer and go to people to help without any interest, because you will win important experience and you will meet people. Make your work visible. You have LinkedIn, you have Twitter that you can make your work visible, and people will see you eventually. And read a lot and on your personal journey as, let's say, personal development. Read as many books as you can in terms of football or personal development, because they are related, So
if we sat down with your 15, 16-year-old self when you were playing Football Manager and busy looking for players, I think you'd be shocked as that young kid now to see the career that you've had and what you've been able to do. And we spoke a little bit before we started recording here about your future aspirations and where things lie. So if we were to have this conversation again in 5 to 10 years, where do you think you'll be and where do you want to be? What are you striving for? What are you looking for in your next part of your journey?
I think I'm gonna be in 5 years. I'm gonna be a very good championship. I don't know exactly the position, but I'm gonna be a very good championship. So I think the Gabi from 16 years old is quite proud at this moment. But I will not stop here, and I believe that I can be a lot more and manage to have success in Europe or other continents, like maybe, I don't know, MLS, or because, for example, there are teams that are looking for European scouts, and everything. You never know how opportunities arises, but I believe that I will be in a very good position in 5 years. I have my fixed idea where I will be, but I'm gonna keep that to myself because I don't want to jinx it selling this.
No, I had a feeling. That's why we'll keep it in the wraps, and then one day when it happens, then we'll speak again. All right. So getting into the quick fire questions here. What was your favorite club team growing up? We've mentioned it a few times, but let's just hear it once more for the fans.
Dinamo Bucharest, yeah.
And do you have a favorite quote or saying that you live by, or something that inspires you?
I believe that there are many quotes or sayings that I like, but the most honest one is very simple. And in Romania, we have a saying, how you make your bed, this is how you sleep. Okay, so it's about karma, so I think this is my favorite one.
Yeah, I've never heard that one. That's good. Do you have some top recommendations for Romania? If I'm flying over to Romania from Canada, what do I have to go see? What do I have to eat? What are the top things to do?
Well, for example, you come to Bucharest, the first thing you need to do is go around the city, and then you go to Constanța, to Mamaia, which is on the seaside, if it's somewhere that is very, very nice. And also you go in Brașov, in the mountains, to visit the Dracula Castle. So these are the main things to do in Romania when you come here. If you want to eat things, we have very, very, very good food that is specific Romanian. Let's say we have, number one, we have mici is the name, which is like sausages, but just the meat without sausage. Okay, so small sausages. Mici in Romanian means smalls in English. Okay, then you can eat sarmale, that is meat roll cabbage. So it's mice meat that is in cabbage rolls. That is very good. And we have other traditional foods that are more, let's say, Balkanic or Eastern Europeans. But these are the main things that you should eat over there, and sausage and everything. But if you want to eat, you go to traditional Romanian restaurants. If you want to have a good time, you come in the summertime. If you want to eat a lot of things, you come into the winter side, and also travel into the north of the country, because there is where the traditionals are more, let's say, kept.
My mom's side is Croatian, and it sounds that a lot of the food is quite similar, because those are all sounding the same. And then of course the Dinamo Bucharest match, if you're in Bucharest.
100%, yeah.
And then the next one here, I'm sure based on your education and the things that we've been speaking on, you definitely read, I'm guessing. So what is a favorite book or a book that you're into right now?
Not actually into right now, but really change my perspective on life. So in terms of life learning, it's quite a very basic one that I really liked. If people haven't read that, I really recommend. It's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. This is the book, right? So it's very, very basic, but it's quite good and simple. Other book that I really enjoy is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. I don't know, you know that also? Yeah.
Yeah, those are two top books.
Yeah, two top books. And there are also others, let's say, in football-wise, that you have Expected Goals, that is very good. You have The Mixer. You also have, what was the name? So the Mixer, is the history of the Premier League. That is very good. And you have, of course, the books that all the coaches wrote, that biographical books that are very good. But there are other, let's say, books that are not in the personal or football part, that are personal development, psychological books that I really read, because my wife, she is how do you say, not psychiatrist, the psychologist. We really share a lot of these books, and I read a lot of those.
Right now I'm reading The Anatomy of a Football Scout, I believe it's called, and that's quite intriguing. It's really a good one.
Interesting one, yeah. It's a simple one as well.
Yes, definitely. The footballing world, it seems anyone that's around it, we're constantly just in love with the game, and then everything becomes our life just becomes everything is surrounded by football. But if you have some time to break it up, do you have another hobby, something you like to do, just enjoy on your free time?
Well, in Romania, we are quite social, and I'm a very social person. I have a lot of friends, so spending time with my friends, let's say, having a barbecue in the yard, and having quality time with around a lot of people is something that I really enjoy. In terms of other sports, I really enjoy the hockey from NHL, which I follow a lot. This is my second best sport, or my second favorite sport, let's say hockey, but not hockey from other parts of the world, but the NHL, because it's quite different.
And the last one here, so we've changed the question. So if you could sit down with one person from the footballing world and then one person just from whoever, but sit down with them for dinner, dead or alive, it can be anyone that's ever existed. Who would you sit down with and why?
Well, first of all, I believe that it's quite hard to find one person that you will want to talk. From the football world, I believe that is Pep Guardiola that I really enjoy, and if not, Bielsa, Marcelo Bielsa, that I really enjoy. And from the, let's say, his whole history or personal development, I truly believe that for every person around the world, there is let's say, holy person that you have in your religion that you will talk about. So probably it will be Jesus Christ. From history, that will be, enlightenment to talk, in whole history. I think everybody would like to do that in sort one sort of the way, even if it's a different religion or so on. Because there are many answers of the, universe and life that I really ask myself, and even if I have some theories or answers, I don't believe they're quite true most of the time.
Yeah, I think anyone from any religious background, I think just the curiosity of human beings, I think there's so many questions to be asked, and so much of our lives today are based on what from those different religions, different regions of the world. So I think sitting down with any of those figures, you would really get an interesting understanding. So that's a good one. I haven't heard that one yet on the show. But Gabriel, I really appreciate your time. This is a great conversation. We've gone over an hour now, so it was definitely a longer one, but it's good. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate your time. If there's any last words you have, and then we can wrap things up.
No, I really enjoy, and thank you for having me. I believe that there are a lot of people that may listen to you that want to go into the world of scouting or football, and believe me, there is a place for everybody if you manage to work and to learn a lot. Of course, it's about networking like in any other environment, but if you are good enough and you persevere enough in any kind of career, you will have success. And also try to do good and help other people, because you never know how things will turn up in your favor, in the future.
Of course, appreciate your time once again, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you so much, Chad.